The death toll rises to 56, with one fatality in Shanghai. China on Sunday morning announced 15 more deaths from the new coronavirus, including one in Shanghai, the first reported so far in the metropolis. 13 more deaths were also announced in Hubei province, where the outbreak began, and one was announced in Henan province. The latest deaths brought the toll in China to 56. Across the country, 688 cases of the new virus were diagnosed on Saturday, the government said early Sunday. That brings the total number of confirmed cases to 1,975. China's leader Xi Jinping warned Saturday of an accelerating spread of the coronavirus, adding to worries about the scope of a health crisis that has claimed at least 56 lives and triggered emergency health measures in cities across China. Xi's remarks of a grave situation came as China kicked off its traditional New Year's celebrations amid a backdrop of caution and stark measures seeking to contain the virus. At least 48 million people were ordered on lockdown in central China, with a travel ban covering 15 cities in the central Hubei province, where the virus was first encountered. Here's what we know. Hong Kong announced that its schools would be closed until February 17 to try to limit the possibility of transmission. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed that a second person in the United States has been diagnosed with coronavirus. Infections have been confirmed in France, South Korea, Japan, Nepal, Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, Taiwan, Australia and the United States. Travel bans were extended in central China to put tens of millions of people effectively on local lockdowns. In Wuhan, where the virus was first detected, workers are racing to build a 1,000-bed hospital. Authorities around China, including in the capital, Beijing, have cancelled the temple fairs and festivals that accompany the Spring Festival to avoid having large public gatherings where the airborne virus could spread. South Korea on Sunday reported its third confirmed case of the Wuhan coronavirus amid mounting fears over the spread of the pneumonia-like illness throughout China and other parts of the world. According to the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (KCDC), a 54-year-old South Korean resident of Wuhan who arrived back home on Monday tested positive for the new strain of the virus that has killed 56 people so far. Upon arrival at the airport, he showed no symptoms, but he started suffering from fever, chills and muscle cramps on Wednesday. His condition seems to have improved for a few days before getting worse again, at which time he contacted health authorities and was placed in isolation on Saturday for tests and treatment, the KCDC said. It said more information about the third case will be made available in due course. Besides the latest confirmed case, the KCDC said it has checked 47 people who have showed symptoms so far, with all testing negative for the illness. The tally was 32 on Saturday. The country reported 2 confirmed cases of the new coronavirus strain on Monday and Friday and is keeping close tabs on those that may have come in contact with such people. To counter the health threat posed by the virus, the health authorities here said Saturday that they have designated mainland China a coronavirus watch zone as part of their ongoing efforts to prevent the spread of the Wuhan coronavirus here. Later in the day, South Korea's foreign ministry raised the travel advisory level for Wuhan and the Hubei region to red alert and recommended its citizens to evacuate the region. The red alert is the third highest in the country's 4-tier travel warning system. Reflecting the concerns raised by the coronavirus, airports across South Korea have set up checkpoints to screen passengers from China and other countries for signs of illness, with local authorities accelerating quarantine efforts to contain the virus as people visit relatives at home or travel abroad. Health workers stressed citizens should follow strict personal hygiene rules whether they are in the country or traveling abroad, especially since large numbers of Chinese tourists are visiting South Korea during the holiday period. The start of the Lunar New Year is celebrated by both Korean and Chinese people. They said people feeling ill should immediately contact its emergency call center by dialing 1339. It also asked people to wash their hands frequently, cover their mouths when coughing and, if they have respiratory problems, wear a mask. Common symptoms of the coronavirus, thought to have originated in Wuhan, central China, include fever, sore throat and breathing difficulties, with more acute cases bringing chills and muscle pain. Health experts said that elderly people and those with underlying disorders should be more careful. China announced that besides the deaths, 1,975 people are confirmed infected amid concerns that the virus is spreading quickly and widely. It said that of those infected, 324 were in critical condition. Outside China, Japan, Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Macau, Hong Kong, France, Australia and the United States have reported confirmed cases of the new coronavirus strain, and there are media reports of a new case in Canada. Which countries have confirmed cases of new coronavirus? People in more than 10 countries, mostly in Asia, have been diagnosed with the virus, which originated in Wuhan, China. A new strain of coronavirus is spreading around the world after originating at a seafood market in the central Chinese city of Wuhan. In China, 56 people have died with 1,975 cases recorded, as the country steps up its response to the crisis by restricting movements and closing tourist sites. Cases have also been confirmed in Europe, North America and several Asian countries, stoking fears of a global pandemic during the Lunar New Year, China's peak travel season. The World Health Organization (WHO) has acknowledged that the respiratory illness is an emergency in China but said last week that it was too early to declare it a public health emergency of international concern. Here are the countries that have so far confirmed cases of the new coronavirus. Australia on January 25 confirmed its first case of the virus, a man who arrived in Melbourne from China a week ago. Authorities said they were contacting people who had traveled on the same plane from China and offering advice. Later that day, authorities said 3 men in Sydney who had recently arrived from China had tested positive for the disease and were in isolation in local hospitals. China. As of January 26, 1,975 people had been confirmed infected across China, most of them in and around Wuhan. 56 people have died, nearly all in the Hubei province, but officials have confirmed 4 deaths elsewhere, 1 in Hubei province, 1 in northeastern Heilongjiang province, 1 in Henan province and the 4th in the city of Shanghai. The city of Macau, a gambling hub hugely popular with mainland tourists, has confirmed 5 cases. In Hong Kong, 6 people are known to have the disease, with more than 380 suspected cases reported. Chief Executive Carrie Lam later declared the outbreak an emergency, the city's highest warning tier, and said all official celebrations of the Lunar New Year would be cancelled. France. There are 3 known cases of the coronavirus in France, the first European country to be affected. A 48-year-old man is in hospital in Bordeaux. He had recently traveled to Wuhan and returned to France via the Netherlands. 2 others have been hospitalized in Paris, one of whom is a relative of one of the other infected patients in France. All 3 had recently traveled to China and had now been placed in isolation. France's health minister has said it is likely that there will be more cases and that authorities are surveying all the people that the patients came into contact with after arriving in France. Japan's health authorities confirmed a 3rd case on January 25. The country's health ministry said a woman in her 30s who lives in Wuhan had contracted the virus. The country's first case was reported by the health ministry last week, a man who had visited Wuhan and was hospitalized on January 10, 4 days after his return to Japan. Local media said the second patient was a man in his 40s who was originally from Wuhan and on a trip to Japan. Malaysia confirmed 4 cases on January 25. All were Chinese nationals on holiday from Wuhan who arrived in the country from Singapore 2 days earlier. The most recently confirmed was a 40-year-old man who was being treated in hospital. A 66-year-old woman and 2 boys, aged 2 and 11, were in a stable condition and being kept in an isolation ward at a public hospital, Malaysia's health minister said. They are all relatives of a man who was found to be infected in Singapore. Nepal said a 32-year-old man arriving from Wuhan had tested positive for the deadly disease. The patient, who was initially quarantined, recovered and was discharged. The government said that surveillance has been increased at the airport, and suspicious patients entering Nepal are being monitored. Singapore has announced at least 3 cases, a 66-year-old man and his 37-year-old son, who arrived in Singapore on January 20 from Wuhan, and a 52-year-old Wuhan woman, who arrived in the city-state on January 21. Taiwan has uncovered 3 cases so far. It has since advised against travel to Wuhan and Hubei province, and on January 24 said any arrivals from Wuhan would be rejected by immigration. All arrivals from the rest of China, including Hong Kong and Macau, must fill out health declaration forms on arrival. It has also banned the export of face masks for a month to ensure domestic supplies. Thailand has detected 5 cases so far, 4 Chinese nationals from Wuhan and a 73-year-old Thai woman who came back from the Chinese city this month. 2 of the Chinese patients were treated, and have since recovered and traveled back to China, the Thai Health Ministry said this week. United States. On January 26, the U.S. announced a 3rd confirmed case in Orange County, California. The patient is a traveler from Wuhan and was in a good condition in isolation in a local hospital, the OC Health Agency said. A woman in her 60s living in Chicago was confirmed on January 24 to have the virus, while a man in his 30s living near Seattle became the first confirmed case in the U.S. on January 21. Both were treated and are recovering. Vietnam on January 23 confirmed 2 cases of the virus. An infected man from Wuhan traveled to Ho Chi Minh City earlier this month and passed the virus on to his son. Both were being treated in hospital and are stable, Vietnamese health officials said. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and please click on the bell so you'll be updated on my next video. Thank you. WeCare for UPH. Your health comes first.